everyone, welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Murray Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from 3 separate studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. We're socially distancing because we're still in a pandemic. You can find our previous episodes at heartlandmamas.com on all podcast platforms and on YouTube, and probably carried by the Demcast USA Network. Murray, we have a very serious subject to address today, and I'm going to throw it back to you to introduce our guest.
Well, today is another segment in our series of Misogyny Tsunami and what we face on a daily basis. And it comes to us today from a younger level than what we've been talking about before. We're very fortunate to have been able to connect with a young woman named Molly Friedman. She is a former... Hi, Molly!
Hi!
She's a former Glenbard South student and a sophomore at Vanderbilt University. For those of you who aren't aware, there's been controversy regarding Glenbard South, the entire Glenbard district, and their sexual harassment, sexual assault accusation process and procedures. So with that little bit of a background, I'd like to introduce you to an amazingly strong young activist, Molly. Molly, take it away.
Hi, I'm Molly. So should I just go into kind of...
Yeah, tell us about you and about your background, and then tell us about the incidents we're going to be talking about today.
Sure. So I went to Glenbard South from 2015 to 2019, and while I was there, I got really involved in student council, and especially with the school board. I was what's called like a liaison to the school board, so I would go to all the meetings and got really familiar with kind of all of their processes and, you know, who is who and all of those important things. My background, I've been doing a lot of different work with activism and organizing this past summer, and this kind of culminated. My last event that I helped organize was the Hold Glenbard Accountable rally for this purpose, which took place at the Glenbard district office.
Okay.
So
No, go ahead. So can you tell us what prompted your activism? Because what caught my eye on this, because Marie and I look at a lot of misogyny and violence against women, and how it's not held to the same standard as violence against men or children, that women are just furniture, treated that way. But I also went to Glenbard South and witnessed some of the similar behavior a little bit differently because it was the 70s. And that's what caught my eye. I thought, man, 42 years since I graduated, and girls are still not valued like athletes are. So please go ahead and tell us what happened without naming names.
Yes, no names.
So
basically, it's come out that there were 5 rape allegations against one student, all at Glenbard South. At least one had happened on campus.
Yeah.
And essentially, the school had forced the girls who were assaulted, or not forced, but they had offered them these no contact contracts, basically saying that the girls would not contact the boy who had assaulted them, and encouraging them to stay silent about this matter. So over the summer, around a month ago, one of those contracts expired, and the girl who was assaulted posted it on Twitter, and it gained national attention. There's a petition with tens of thousands of signatures. Last I checked was weeks ago, and it was 35,000.
Yeah.
So I should have checked more recently, but I'm sure it's far over that at this point. So yeah, and it started with a lot of calling campaigns, a lot of email campaigns to try to push for collective action, not only against this student, but against the administration that had swept this under the rug so systematically and allowed this to happen. And throughout doing this, we realized that this was a process consistent across all 4 Glenbards. This was not an isolated case of these no contact contracts. This was not an isolated case of students not being supported by administration, students being doubted by administration, told to get over it, told that they somehow encouraged this or wanted this, and really all of the tropes that society likes to push on survivors of sexual assault. So it became really clear that this was a systematic issue and a systemic issue, and one that needed to be addressed. So we decided to organize a rally held at the district office where we had some concrete demands, and we are encouraging the district to make the necessary changes and fire the necessary people so that students can be safe at the Glenbard schools.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the culture at Glenbard South. I'd like for you, if you can go back, and you have a sister who still goes there, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So you're still very much involved in the environment of high school. So from your perspective, what was the culture like at the school when you were there, and what's your sister experiencing?
Yeah, it's definitely just a smaller, microcosm of what society says about women, what society says about sexual assault, what society says about athletes who are abusers. There's one specific staff member who we specifically addressed in our demands during different campaigns, and especially during the rally, who needs to be fired and proper actions need to be taken against her. Amy Velasquez.
Amy Velasquez. I was going to say, name that name, because Amy Velasquez.
Yes, of course.
So disappointed.
Amy Velasquez, and she is a dean at Glenbard South.
Mm-hmm.
So she specifically, many students, including my sister, have experiences with her commenting on their clothing in the hallway, and in a situation where it's clear that she's closely examining their bodies and telling them to and it's completely true.
Listen,
telling them to sorry.
No, well, the slut.
So I think one of the things that we had talked about, and you just brought up, is I just kind of want to clarify. The dean, Amy Velasquez, has a history of penalizing and criticizing girls. I believe you said that girls are often sent home for having tank tops or too skinny of straps. They've been sent home for minor dress code violations.
Change into gym clothes. Yeah. Yeah. Often they'll have them change into their gym uniform, and then it's it's clear that something happened because people don't usually wear their gym uniforms to class
in school all day.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this will happen for the girls and not for the boys.
Correct.
So we have a double standard already.
Mm-hmm.
We have a case where a woman who women should feel comfortable coming to is already judging and placing herself in a higher position, which is unacceptable, especially as a woman in that position. So these women have come to her, these young women have come to her, even knowing that she may not believe them, because she does put the onus of everything on the girls on campus. And she then hears about these assaults, these complaints, these reports from the girls, and she has them sign no contact agreements, which means that they can't have anything to do with him, social media, school, etc. But so again, we're penalizing the girl and glorifying the boy. So I just wanted to make sure all of our listeners were real clear on what this dean is doing,
because the boy has
and the culture she's creating.
Yeah.
By emphasizing the faults of women or females and the praise of male.
And the boy has not had to sign this non-contact contract, correct? So he's not been asked to sign anything. And I know that this went to the Glen Ellyn Police Department, which said that it would be, I think you told me they said it would be a he said, she said, difficult to investigate. Is that correct? Amy? Or Molly? Uh-oh, I hope we didn't lose Molly.
Not that I know of.
Okay, there you are. Okay, so I know the state's attorney, the youth state's attorney for DuPage County has also been involved. I did check their website today. There's no charges. I do know the name of the young man, which is still an active high school student. We're not going to throw his name out there now, but we know that there are no charges brought against him. And I want to say, Murray and I talk all the time about how all politics is local. Your state's attorney in DuPage County was elected by the people of DuPage County to represent them, including these girls that were assaulted. And his name is Robert Berlin. And you can call him at 630-407-8000 and ask him to do something about the girls that have been assaulted at Glenbard South and not been represented by his office. So I would get on the phone today.
I think Molly's back. Molly, did you make it back?
We can't hear Molly. Molly, can you hear us? Nope, she's just kind of lost out there. We can't hear you, Molly.
The one thing I do want to mention about Molly is I want to mention that not only is this a culture that permeates South, but also multiple other schools in Glenbard. But Molly and the student group and other young leaders activated a huge community through petitions, through social media, through protests, through marches, and they brought this attention to another level, and to be able to do that, I think, is really amazing, and I'm very proud of her. Jen, I'm telling you, Gen Z is gonna kill it, man.
Yeah. The other thing people need to understand too, getting back to all politics is local, is that you have a school board that hired the likes of Amy Velasquez and of Velasquez at Glenbard South, the dean, and that school board is going to be up for election, part of it, after the first of the year in 2021. And it's up to you people that live there to show the school board that you mean business when it comes to sexual assault. And when it comes to protection of the students, I don't care if it's from COVID-19 or if it's 5 rape allegations, one of which happened in the very building the kids go to school in. I went to school there. There are nooks and crannies in that building where bad stuff happened in the 70s when I went there. And it still happens now, apparently, because you can't have a camera everywhere. You just can't. I mean, you try.
And Heidi, I agree with you that the school board is the one, that approves the hiring decisions, and they're who we need to hold accountable. But this comes more to a structural change.
Yes.
This comes down to a fundamental shift in our culture. It's a rape culture. They support the boys, they support the athletes. The girls don't carry the same weight. And you hire people like this Dean Velasquez who reinforce that notion. Right. Nothing has changed. So, yes, absolutely, we need to hold them all accountable. But the real fault here lies with this administration not coming in and admitting that there's a problem and doing something to change it, to start to change the culture. And there hasn't been anything yet. You can say, while we're investigating this, while we are investigating this and working through these issues, we want our students and families to know we take this very seriously and we're going to work on XYZ. Nothing.
Yeah. So, Molly, can you hear us? Can you comment about have there been any changes? Have there been any changes at Glenbard South or the Glenbard School System regarding your activism and outreach on this matter?
Yeah, so since that happened, I was working with 2 other Glenbard students to organize the rally and, organize these campaigns and everything of this sort. So the school, which has been amazing, they've met with different administrators and they've suggested different changes that need to be made at the school, including policy on no contact contracts to be very clear, and one of the deans who an assistant principal who's relatively new, Mr. Hamario, he may be at fault. I don't know when he took the job and how that relates, but he suggested a meeting between all of that kind of second level of administration at the Glenbard schools, so that they can be really clear on what these policies should look like and everything relating to that. And they had a meeting, and the administrators made it difficult for them to bring up the demands, but the students were able to bring up our demands. So the school does, at least it seems as though they want to work with us and hear what we're trying to say, and we're also pushing for more education on sexual assault beyond health class freshman year, because
maybe
really
teaching boys not to rape and not girls how not to get raped?
Some progress has been made. I'm concerned it's going to be slow and might not include everything we're requesting, but I don't think the students will stop until we get everything we're asking for.
It's so,
and that's what I think is amazing.
Yeah, it's so important for the students and the parents to keep pushing on this issue. I'm sorry, Marie, go ahead.
No, as I was saying it when we had briefly lost Molly, that this is something that's gone on for years, from when you were there, Heidi, all the way through till last year, still going on, the culture. And while a few students may talk about it amongst themselves, it wasn't brought to the community. Yeah, we can hear you, honey. It wasn't brought to the community. And so because of this brave woman who posted on Twitter that her contract was up and told the story, and the activism of Molly and her other friends, they're now talking about this. They've opened up this conversation, and while some in power don't seem to be all that interested in it, there are those that are listening, and I commend you, Molly. That's pretty amazing.
Molly, can you say something? Can you comment on that? Molly is a few states away at college, and she's using a remote apparatus that may not be tuning in as well as we'd hoped, but I know that Molly's activism has made a difference, and we need to make sure that we encourage others. And while we're working on getting Molly back on the stream here, I'd like to talk to the people listening about what happened when I was in school in the 70s. It was always a woman's fault. It was always your fault if you were raped or sexually assaulted. Always, always, always. So we didn't talk about it. I had a best friend who's now passed away that was assaulted on school grounds that never got over it. It impacted everything she did for her entire very short life. I know other girls that had the same other assaults that happened, and because they were cheerleaders and their skirts were short, your cheerleading outfit was short, it was their fault. I know myself, my sisters, we all had to kneel down and make sure our skirts would touch the floor or our shorts would touch the floor or be at fingertips so that we weren't tormenting, as it was put to me, tormenting the boys. So when this culture is allowed to persist, and I started at Glenbard South one of the first full 4 years that it was open. So graduating 42 years ago, nothing has changed. And we need to understand that women need to be believed and trusted, and that activism is going to have to come from the student body, because you don't have adult allies in this case. And when the adult allies let the students down, we have this rape culture that is allowed to persist. And Murray talked about how, it's got to be, Murray and Molly both talked about how it's really important for sex education to go beyond freshman year, and boys need to be told it is not okay to rape. It doesn't matter that she's wearing leggings. It does not matter that she has spaghetti straps on her shirt. She is not to be raped or assaulted because of how she looks.
Because of your inability to see her as being a human being.
Right.
And it goes back to teaching that girls have a value, and that's all a part of the rape culture that we have. So I think we permanently lost Molly, but I promise we will have Molly on again to talk more about this. But we hope that today's show really brought you a better understanding of where we were as far as women and where we still are. But there is hope with generations like Gen Z and young people like Molly and her classmates, and those of us that pick up that message and run with it, so we can be allies in every aspect.
Right. So, the thing is you all need to pick up the phone and call your DuPage County State's Attorney today. I need to demand justice for these girls. Demand justice, because they deserve that. They are human beings. They are afraid to be at school. They have not expelled this multiple rapist, that has been accused of rape on multiple occasions. They have done nothing to protect the student body from this person, and he's allowed to walk the halls freely as Glenbard South fires up and gets going again for this year. And I feel terrible. I feel terrible for the girls that have to walk the same hallways as this person, especially when you get down into the science wing and there's no escape, or when you get down into the gym floors and there's no escape from your rapist or from the person that assaulted you. You are just there with them. It shouldn't be up to them to have no contact. It should be up to the school to demand that he has no contact with these girls until the case is resolved. So, Murray, we're going to wrap up today, and I'd like to thank everybody for listening in on this very difficult topic. I know it brought up some really difficult memories for me that I had to confront again, because you, as a survivor, you confront them your entire life, and you need to make sure that you advocate for those that have no voice, and for those that are powerless, and for those that are not being advocated for. Nobody is stepping up to be the warrior queen until Molly stepped up. So Molly is a warrior. I'm so glad that we got to meet her. I'm so glad I reached out to talk to her about it. Murray, of course, always brings it home. And I'd like to thank everybody. Remember to find us online, Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, on all podcast platforms, Demcast, YouTube. We are going to have Molly back on. One of these days, we're going to get our contact with Molly straightened out, because we just are not connecting.
Been tough.
Yeah, it's always been tough. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Take care now. Bye-bye.